In an ever-changing world, knowledge, they say, is wealth. And the value of your thoughts and what your mind can create or produce is unquantifiable. It is called intellectual property, or IP for short. That is a creation of the mind, such as inventions, literary and artistic works, designs and symbols, names and images used in commerce. Now, what do you know about the policy on trademarks and your rights as a citizen? The Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment is one with many branches, and in that ministry is a directorate that deals with trademarks. But unfortunately, that office is only located in Abuja, the nation's capital. Now, that is our focus on this episode as Nigerians continue to expand territories in the creatives industry and, of course, in intellectual property markets with a global value that is worth billions of dollars annually. Don't forget, we also have our complimentary segment, Simplify This, and of course, we take you to the market square. My name is Leah Katung-Babatunde, and this is The Policy.
The Policy with Leah quite certainly is a show to turn to when it comes to policymakers' desire to monitor and respond to challenges within the capital markets ecosystem and the economy in general. I am Sterling Ellis, a duly qualified capital markets professional in Nigeria, in the United Kingdom, and in the United States of America. Enjoy The Policy with Leah.
We begin the day with a recap of major happenings around the economy.
Former Minister of Finance and Minister for Industry, Trade and Investment, Mr. Olusegun Aganga, has canvassed for Nigerian pension funds to be able to invest a portion of their assets offshore and in index inflation-linked instruments. He said this was very important as the devaluation of the local currency and rising inflation could lead to an erosion of earnings for the pension funds and subsequently old age poverty for pensioners and retirees. Mr. Ganga gave the advice while speaking at a training organized for board members and directors of pension fund operators in Nigeria, which was organized by PENOP and FTIC in conjunction with PENCOM. At that forum, Aganga also mentioned that the directors of pension funds need to work together with the state governments, the National Executive Council, and the federal government to ensure that more states get on board the contributory pension scheme and to ensure that those states already on the scheme remit both employer and employee contributions to the pension fund administrators as at when due. He expressed displeasure at the number of states engaged in deducting pension contributions from their employees, but we are not remitting it, which he said does not augur well for the future of Nigerian workers and should be discouraged. Nigeria's trade surplus recorded a modest improvement in the third quarter of 2023 as trade surplus rose by 47% quarter-on-quarter to 1.89 trillion naira from 1.28 trillion naira posted in the second quarter of the year. This was contained in the recently published Foreign Trade Statistics Report by the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS). The report puts Nigeria's total merchandise trade value at 18.8 trillion naira during the quarter as crude-dominated exports, accounting for 8.5 trillion naira or 82.5% of total exports. Non-crude oil exports stood at 1.8 trillion naira, an equivalent of 17.5%. The total exports accounted for 55.02% of total trade in the reviewed quarter, with a value of 10.35 trillion naira, while imports accounted for 45% of total trade, with its value amounting to 8.46 trillion naira. Top 5 export destinations in the quarter were Ivory Coast, Gabon, Ghana, Cameroon, and South Korea. Procter & Gamble consumer goods giant says it plans to dissolve on-ground operations in Nigeria and turn the country into an import market. Industry players says 5,000 jobs are at risk. Chief Financial Officer of the group, Andrea Schulten, in a presentation at the Morgan Stanley Global Consumer and Retail Conference said the company is experiencing operational difficulty in Nigeria as a dollar-denominated organization, and the macroeconomic reality in Nigeria is responsible for its latest strategic decision. Same scenario, he said, is being faced in Argentina, and the decision will help the company focus on markets that have the highest potentials. The company's restructuring in both countries, he said, will not affect their balance sheet from a sales or profitability standpoint. Hence, the decision to dissolve footprints on the ground in Nigeria and revert to an import-only model. Director General, Energy Commission of Nigeria (ECN), Dr. Mustapha Abdullahi, has assured world leaders of the country's total commitment to clean cooling, an energy initiative adopted at the UN Climate Change Summit in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. He gave the assurance in an address at a high-level meeting attended by world leaders and other critical stakeholders on climate change. Speaking at the event which witnessed the launch of the Global Cooling Pledge, Dr. Abdullahi was emphatic on Nigeria's commitment to the initiative as recently championed by the Commission in partnership with the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP. He said as the head of the country's lead agency on energy, his commitment to drive a new energy economy that will be in line with the global best practices is unwavering. The Global Cooling Pledge is an initiative that will see to the reduction in carbon emissions and bring minimum energy performance to 1.5 degrees Celsius across the globe. The Debt Management Office (DMO) has offered for subscription 4 federal government of Nigerian bonds valued at 360 billion naira through auction. The DMO in a statement said the first offer is April 2029 federal government bond valued at 90 billion naira at interest rate of 14.55% per annum. It is a 10-year reopening. The second offer, another 10-year reopening, is a June 2033 federal government bond valued at 90 billion naira at 14.70% interest rates per annum. Also offered is the 15-year reopening June 2038 federal government bond valued at 90 billion naira at an interest rate of 15.45% per annum. While the fourth offer is a June 2053 federal government bond, also valued at 90 billion naira at an interest rate of 15.70% per annum, 30-year reopening. Auction date is December 11, 2023.
It is the Trademark Policy edition of the program, a very vital intellectual property instrument, and here's that conversation. So Mallam Shafiu Adamu Yauri is the Director and Registrar Trademarks at the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment right here in Abuja, and together we shall be looking at this very interesting issue around trademarks and intellectual property, taking ownership. It's nice to have you on the program.
Thank you very much, Madam Katung.
All right, sir. So perhaps we start trademarks. What does it stand for? And of course, what is the place of trademarks in the Nigerian development system?
Let me say, broadly speaking, intellectual property is divided into two main parts. On the one hand, you have your copyrights, which deal with literary and artistic works and other cultural works. And on the other hand, you have industrial property. And when you talk about industrial property here, you are talking about trademarks, patents, designs, and other forms of intellectual property that are trade-related. Now, trademarks forms one of those 7 key areas as identified by the World Trade Organization forming the intellectual property family. And what do they protect? Trademarks protect signs or symbols used by producers and manufacturers to identify or distinguish goods. So when you see an insignia, a logo, a symbol, a sign, a name, which identifies a particular product, the intention is for you, the purchaser to know this product is coming from a particular manufacturer, which is the producer. Another important feature is for you to also understand that this product carrying this insignia or trademark or symbol has this quality that is associated with this particular producer. And in order to do what? To distinguish it from other similar products in the market. So essentially speaking, trademark serves to identify and distinguish a product once it is placed in the market.
So trademarks and copyrights, are they the same? What are the differences?
Like I mentioned earlier, while copyright protects literary and artistic works, when I talk about literary works, I'm talking about books, novels, I'm talking about films, I'm talking about artworks, photographs, and what have you. This is what intellectual property related to copyright protects. Like what we are doing today is an intellectual property work, but related to the broadcasting sector of the copyright, with a television program, with a radio program. These are all copyright issues, and they are protected. Now, on the other hand, trademarks protect signs and symbols which distinguish products. So the signs and symbols are affixed on a product in order to identify and distinguish. So the important feature you should bear in mind is that one is the name or symbol or logo that you attach to a particular product in order to distinguish it, while the other is the actual work of copyright, which is either a book or a film or an artwork or a photograph.
The present trade policy, now, what does it say about trademarks?
Thank you very much. The trade policy of Nigeria, which was recently reviewed, actually encapsulates intellectual property issues, and in particular with regards to preventing deception of products in the market, and also the illegal use of registered trademarks. So the trade policy of Nigeria protects the right of trademarks, registered trademarks, that have been registered by the trademark registry. So once you have a trademark that you put into use and you take the necessary steps to protect, the law guarantees that this product can be distinguished from any other product put in the market. And therefore, any attempt by any person to use the same goods or similar goods or any good that is likely to deceive or cause confusion, that amounts to an illegal use of an the issue of infringement arises, and it is disallowed by our trade policy, and it is a case that the courts are very strong about.
We've seen in recent time, we've had a lot, particularly in the creative industry, a lot of issues have come up in recent time. So really, if an artist or a writer or whatever is protected, how do you come in to protect them now if they cry out to you?
It is important to point out that a particular issue may have different intellectual property rights arising from it. For example, if you are a filmmaker and you produce a film, the film itself, once it is produced, it is in a fixed form. And the Copyright Act says that it is protected as it is. There is no need for any action, no need for any registration. However, of recent, because of legal certainties, the Copyright Commission in its wisdom came out with a protection system called the Copyright Notification System, where you go to Copyright Commission with a copy of the film you produce to register, and they issue a certificate or a notification which shows that this particular film has been received by the Copyright Commission and has been registered with them. It's for legal certainty. However, the moment the copyright comes into existence in a fixed form, automatically it becomes protected. Now, with regards to trademark, you have to take steps as provided by Section 18. Any person claiming to be the proprietor of a trademark, used or proposed to be used by him must apply in the prescribed manner to the registrar for registration. So you must claim ownership and you must apply for registration. But once it is registered, it is now protected. Now, the question here arises that as the copyright owner, if the film also has a name, you have to take steps and protect that name also as a trademark. So you see copyright, you see trademark in one product. It could be that the product is an invention as a patent. Patent relates to invention, new creative ways of doing things or producing certain electronic items. Now, it has a patent. It may have a name, which is a trademark. The shape and configuration of the article itself is a design, so it can be protected by industrial design. So you can see one product having more than one intellectual property right. The responsibility is that of the owner to take steps to ensure that he takes the legal step to protect his product, thereby preventing others from taking advantage of the product for non-registration. Because if you don't protect, it means it is open for people to use, and others can rush to the registry claiming ownership, and unless you go through the torturous journey of proving you are the original owner, you are the rightful owner, and you defeat the other claimant will still use the mark.
Okay, so how aware are Nigerians about these particular instruments?
Of course, in the laws of the Federation of Nigeria, if you go through the laws of the Federation of Nigeria, and you can Google laws of Federation of Nigeria, and you will see the most current laws of the Federation there. The Copyright Act, under the Copyright Act, the Trademarks Act is protected by Trademarks Act Cap T13, laws of the Federation 2004. And same goes for patent and designs, and all these laws are contained in the laws of the Federation of Nigeria. However, there is only one trademarks registry which is located here in Abuja, and you can only obtain registration here in Abuja. The good thing about what we are currently doing administratively in order to enhance the registration system is we are digitizing our processes, and we're 60% on the way, and we're hoping before the end of next year we'll be 100% digitized. With 100% digitization and automation, it means that from the comfort of your home or office, you can apply for a trademark, you can conduct search or publish your marks in our journal, and you will obtain even your acceptance and certificate online.
So is Nigeria a signatory to any form of treaties or agreements on trademarks?
Yes. The first one is Nigeria is a member of the World Intellectual Property Organization. This is the United Nations governing body that regulates intellectual property at the global stage, including trademarks, copyright, patent, and the rest. And Nigeria is a member. Then Nigeria also has acceded to the Paris Convention for the Protection of Industrial Property Rights of 1883. This means that under the Paris Convention, you have the Trademarks Act, you have the Patent and Designs, you have all the industrial property issues, and Nigeria is a signatory to that treaty. And most recently, the WTO TRIPS agreement, the World Trade Organization agreement on trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights. Nigeria is a signatory to the WTO since 2005, and the country is an active member of the African Continental Free Trade Area. And you know that almost all the 54 African countries have signed on to that agreement, and the second phase of the ACFA agreement contains the intellectual property component, and Nigeria is a member.
So what are the forms of protection guarantee now that holders have when they trademark?
Registration guarantees you absolute safety, that you are protected against unfair use of your trademark. Because with registration, it means that your mark has passed all the substantive requirements of the trademarks law, and it is affirmed and confirmed by the trademark registry that this mark does not in any way conflict or likely to cause any confusion with any other trademark in existence. So the registration certificate confirms that this owner of this trademark is a registered owner as confirmed by the trademark registry. So any attempt to use that same mark by any person without your authorization means an illegal use.
Before I let you leave, if you can walk us through what are the processes in obtaining a trademark?
We have two windows of registration at the trademark registry. One is called the IPAS. IPAS means Industrial Property Automation System. It's a software donated to us by the World Intellectual Property Organization, where Nigeria is a member. And it is a system of registration that combines both manual, which we have been operating in the past, and a digitized format, which we are trying to introduce. And we also have a strictly an online system introduced by the federal government of Nigeria through the use of consultants. So if you are using the IPA system, you submit your application through the Form 1 and Form 2, which are the application forms. The Form 1 basically is to provide the information on the applicant, what is the name of the applicant, the address, the mark he wants to apply for, the class, because very importantly, you must identify the class you are seeking to protect. And we have class 1 to 34 for goods, and we have 35 to 45 for services. So it depends on what type of trademarks that you want to apply. I hope you understand that trademark can be for goods, and it can also be for services. For goods are goods that you sell, chocolate, telephone, these are goods. And for services, hotels, airlines, banks, and whatever, these are services. Then, once you submit the application through the IPAS window at the front office, the application will be entered into our system. And then the procedure will now continue, and I'll take you through the procedure. And for online, from the comfort of your office, you go to the bank and make your payment, and then you submit the application online. The application will be received by the office, confirmed by the office, and then the process. And that is why I told you, once we issue you with certificate, it's a confirmation that this mark that we have registered does not have a similar or conflicting or even nearly resembling trademark on record. So it stands on its own. Once we issue certificate, the term of protection is for 7 years, and thereafter every 14 years. And trademark, where it is different from every other intellectual property right, is that it can last forever. Forever, as long as you continue to use it and you continue to renew.
Wow, this is quite a lot, and it seems the information is just simply not out there.
I agree, I quite agree with you. A one-time Director General of the World Intellectual Property Organization on a visit to Nigeria said, in terms of intellectual property assets that he has seen that this country possesses, it is far more important than Nigeria's oil wealth, only that it has not been tapped.
It's been very wonderful speaking with you, sir. Thank you for the time and the opportunity to be in your office space.
It's my pleasure.
My name is Adamu Yauri.
Keep watching The Policy with Leah.
It aims to provide policymakers an opportunity to explain their policies in a way that members of the public affected by those policies can understand and engage with those policies.
Keep watching The Policy with Leah.
We've come to that part of the Do You Know, and on this edition we're simplifying recapitalization, and that is in line with major happenings around the financial circles, and from there we take a trip to the market square. And on that note, we wrap this edition of The Policy with Leah. But don't forget, you can catch up on all the major highlights from the markets from our sister website, www.marketnigertv.com. This episode and every other one is available on YouTube on our channel. And of course, our social media platforms are always open. We value your feedback, so keep them coming, the questions, the comments, the suggestions. Join us again, same time, same channel next week. Have a beautiful weekend and God bless Nigeria.